Memórias. Apresentação: Sandro Silva.
Olá, hoje, não sei se você está vendo de manhã, à tarde, à noite, então bom dia, boa tarde e boa noite. Né? Hoje vamos falar de uma cantora que eu estive analisando aqui, nós artistas, nós temos, sempre a gente convive com esse problema de drogas, álcool, né? Não é só sexo e rock and roll, se fosse só sexo e rock and roll seria ótimo. Eu tive um amigo na época que eu estava me apresentando no Raul Gil, o Russo, e todo mundo achava incrível o jeito que o Russo cantava. Ele cantava com uma voz rouca, e eu lembro de já ter visto, ouvido aquilo em algum lugar. Depois eu vi quem que ele se inspirou, conversando com ele, ele me disse Janis Joplin. E aí a gente analisando Janis Joplin, a trajetória dela, incrível, uma menina que veio como patinho feio, conseguiu conquistar o seu espaço no mundo. Vamos ver as últimas 24 horas, estou pesquisando muito aqui, vamos ver as últimas 24 horas da rainha do soul, a rainha branca do Rhythm and Blues mundial. Com vocês, Janis Joplin.
3 de outubro de 1970, Hollywood, Califórnia. Faz um mês que a superestrela do rock Janis Joplin trabalha em seu último disco, chamado Pearl. Ela está hospedada no hotel Landmark e é aqui, sozinha, que ela vai perder a vida em menos de 24 horas. É 1h30 da tarde e Janis ainda está no quarto. A banda está gravando faixas num estúdio próximo e ela só precisa ir bem mais tarde. Com tempo de sobra, ela liga para a Prefeitura de São Francisco em busca de informações para obter uma licença de matrimônio. Janis acabou de ficar noiva de Seth Morgan, que ela conhece há poucos meses. Alguns amigos não acreditam no relacionamento, mas o produtor John Cook tem outra opinião.
The way Janis talked about her relationship with Seth Morgan was very positive. She was describing it in terms of being different from her previous relationships.
Janis acredita ter encontrado o amor verdadeiro.
She described their relationship as being different. She said they didn't have to go out boogieing every night. They could read the morning paper together and talk about current affairs.
Janis liga para a prefeitura, mas como é sábado, não há expediente. Vai ter que tentar novamente na segunda. Com a tarde inteira livre e sem nada para fazer, Janis começa a ficar impaciente. Ela não gosta de ficar sozinha e precisa de algo para diminuir o tédio.
Well, recording goes on for weeks, and it's not ever quite as much fun as being on stage because there's no audience. There are those boring days, and Janis did not suffer boredom gladly.
Janis pega novamente o telefone, mas dessa vez ela liga para o fornecedor de drogas. Ele combina de passar no hotel com uma entrega especial, que vai acabar com a vida dela. Vida essa que 3 anos antes parecia muito promissora. No dia 16 de junho de 1967, o Verão do Amor estava no auge, com 50 mil pessoas no Festival de Música Pop Internacional de Monterrey. Uma banda hippie pouco conhecida de São Francisco, chamada Big Brother and the Holding Company, ia se apresentar. A vocalista, de 24 anos, era Janis Joplin.
People just hadn't heard a white girl sing the blues this way. If you hadn't heard Janis before, and she came out and started singing You Were Just Blown Away.
Everybody in the band, not just Janis, but Peter had it, Sam had it, James had it, I had it. When we went out, we just, you know, we really just went for it.
If you had done a whip reverse with some of those movie cameras and shot the audience, you would have seen a lot of people like this.
And I want someone that can tell me, come on, tell me why, tell me why. Oh, people, tell me why love, honey, what love is like. Well, it's like a ball and in a chain.
Em Monte Rei, Janis virou uma sensação da noite para o dia.
People were blown away to an extent that I haven't seen a big audience blown away by any artist before or since.
Janis era o centro das atenções.
The phones didn't stop ringing. The press, are you kidding? They went nuts. They all wanted to talk to her.
Do you have any explanation why you're so popular?
Everybody just loved her right off the bat because she was real. She was incredibly real and incredibly open.
I just started singing when I was about 17. I listened to a lot of music first, and one day I started singing, and I could sing. It was like it was a surprise, to say the least.
She was at the right place at the right time with the right attitude and the right voice.
She was this rocker who moved on stage like nobody had ever moved. She was uninhibited, she spoke her mind, and she was an exciting personality.
But she put it out there. When she's singing, she let it all hang. That's why her live concerts, people that had seen her just, oh my God.
O jeito extravagante e livre de Janis causava um grande impacto no público. As mulheres, principalmente, se identificavam com ela.
Janis stood out for a lot of women's issues, the right to be proud of yourself, period. She was the first person on stage saying that stuff, and people were taken aback by that and also drawn to it.
Janis era mais que uma mera cantora. Ela estava virando a voz de sua geração e estava radiante por desempenhar esse papel.
Janis took to the fame very well. She was up to it, for one thing. You know, she was faster, funnier, and more intelligent by far than most of the people we ran into.
At the same time, she felt like, you know, wow, I'm meeting Andy Warhol, or me, this like ugly chick from Texas, this nobody. I'm meeting, you know, these big stars like that.
Dick Cavett fell in love with her, which was hard to imagine. It was like a flea falling in love with an elephant.
Very nice to see you, my little songbird. I wore my hip jacket for you, however.
You did?
Yes, you did.
Are you sure?
I thought I did. Yes, isn't this what all the guys are wearing?
No, not all of them.
Not all of them, eh?
Mas por trás da atitude confiante, Janis era solitária e insegura quanto à sua aparência, talento e popularidade. A bebida e as drogas ajudavam a preencher o vazio.
If everyone's drinking, she would drink the most in the room. You know, if everyone's doing drugs, she would do the best drugs and the most drugs of anyone in the room.
Quanto mais famosa ficava, mais ela se viciava. E esse vício iria segui-la como uma sombra até um solitário quarto de hotel em Hollywood. (3 de outubro de 1970, 3h30 da tarde. A estrela do rock Janis Joplin está no hotel Landmark em Hollywood há mais de um mês enquanto grava seu último disco, Pearl. Como ainda faltam algumas horas para ir ao estúdio, ela está entediada. Para passar o tempo, Janis encomenda heroína a seu traficante. Ela não faz ideia de que marcou um encontro com a morte. Em menos de 10 horas, Janis Joplin, a aloprada do blues, vai estar morta. Durante toda a carreira, ela lutou contra o vício do álcool e das drogas.
To the band, she always presented this very up, very happy, very ready to rock, very ready to play, ready to do the job, make the music. That was the side of her we saw. We didn't really see the other side.
E até chegar a Los Angeles, Janis também não tinha visto. Ela não usava heroína desde abril.
She had been clean for 6 months and proud of it. And she had done it herself because you have to do it for yourself.
She decided to get her life back on the rails again, and she made a serious effort.
Mas no quarto de hotel, Janis Joplin dá 2 passos para trás.
In my experience of the addictive personality, there's always a level of self-confidence that is a step beyond where it should be. So because she had cleaned herself up, well, then she could safely dabble.
Não é a primeira vez que Janis compra desse traficante. Ele é de confiança e sempre testa o produto. Só que hoje ele se descuida. Nem o traficante nem Janis sabem que a heroína não foi misturada e pode ter a pureza de até 50%. Até para o maior dos viciados, esse teor é perigoso. Para Janis, que acaba de voltar a usar, vai ser fatal. Em vez de se drogar imediatamente, Janis liga para o noivo, Seth. Ela fez grandes planos para os dois e pensa até em abandonar a carreira e ter filhos.
She wanted to be more than a rock singer. She wanted to have a family. She wanted to have children. She wanted to get married. You know, she wanted all the things that everybody wants.
A família sempre foi algo importante para a cantora. Janis Lynn Joplin nasceu em 19 de janeiro de 1943, na conservadora cidade petrolífera de Port Arthur, no Texas, um lugar bem improvável para quem seria conhecida como a aloprada do blues.
When we were growing up, and this is in the 40s and 50s, it was quite idyllic, really, you know, manicured lawns and Little League baseball and sort of a normal middle-class looking type town.
Tudo indica que a infância de Janis foi normal, feliz e tranquila, mas isso mudou na adolescência.
Her mother wanted Janis to be what every mother there wanted their daughter to be, and that was popular and have a date for the prom and dress nice and wear her hair right. And it became pretty clear pretty early in high school that Janis wasn't going to follow that road.
Com um caso grave de acne e o corpo pouco desenvolvido, a adolescente passou a ser excluída pelos colegas. Janis, que até então era popular, ficou arrasada.
I think Janis probably had a lot of personal problems, self-doubts, and as far as her own looks were concerned.
Janis encarou a rejeição se rebelando. Ela se vestia de preto, xingava demais e torcia o nariz para o que passou a considerar valores hipócritas de cidade pequena. Quanto mais rebelde ficava, mais os colegas a atormentavam e a isolavam. Mas Janis conseguiu refúgio na companhia de outros poucos excluídos, entre eles Jim Langdon.
We all rebelled against the status quo, against the establishment, against the rules and regulations and attitudes that prevailed at that time.
Parte da rebeldia envolvia atravessar ilicitamente a fronteira com o estado da Louisiana, onde buscavam aventura e encontravam o fruto proibido, a black music.
And we spent from midnight until dawn just going, prowling in and out of the clubs, the quarters, hearing blues players, jazz players, you know, just digging the music and drinking. She really got turned on to especially the blues people, you know. It was just a whole scene that was just magical, you know, really exciting. Jazz loved it. You know, we all enjoyed it, but she really loved it. And so I think that was sort of a beginning as far as the kind of life that she was going to pursue.
Após uma dessas aventuras em Nova Orleans, Janis e os amigos bateram o carro e foram detidos pela polícia.
It was things like that that solidified Janis's reputation as a bad girl, as a really bad girl.
She was vilified greatly for this, you know. She was different, and being different was enough to get you a lot of grief.
She had chosen to fight back by being even more outrageous and more aggressive, and that just made matters worse.
Agora, em outubro de 1970, lá no fundo, Janis ainda tenta ser aceita e amada. Sozinha e entediada no quarto de hotel, ela liga novamente para o noivo, Seth Morgan. Eles moram juntos há alguns meses, mas desde que ela foi gravar em Los Angeles, mal se viram. Os amigos de Janis desconfiam desse último namorado.
Yeah, the engagement stuff I never believed was really going to happen. That was strange. This guy Seth, I don't know. Don't know about him.
Janis e Seth começam a discutir. Ele deveria encontrá-la em Los Angeles para passarem a noite juntos, mas não era a primeira vez que ele cancelava em cima da hora.
She would be with second-rate people if they would love her. You know, that was the admission.
Janis dormia com homens e mulheres. Sempre aberta e desinibida quanto à orientação sexual, ela agia de maneira oposta à educação puritana que tinha recebido. Em 1962, a jovem de 19 anos deixou a família e a cidade natal e foi cursar artes na Universidade do Texas, em Austin. Lá encontrou pessoas da contracultura como ela, artistas, ativistas e principalmente músicos, como Powell St. John.
One evening, we were all sitting around my apartment, and Janis was there with a couple of guitarists, and one of the guys was a big Leadbelly fan. And Janis started going through all these Leadbelly tunes that I've never heard in my life. Oh yeah, that was Green Corn, Green Corn. And she's singing this stuff. And I was sitting there, wow, where did she learn all this?
Janis entrou para a banda Waller Creek Boys. Ela adorava a tensão, mas nem sempre.
Every year the fraternities would sponsor a festival on campus, and one of the activities that they would do, you could nominate a person as ugly man for a fee. So someone nominated Janis, and she won in the voting, and she was absolutely crushed. I think it's one of the only times I ever saw Janis cry.
Ano depois, Janis deixou o Texas e os colegas que a tinham humilhado e foi de carona até a Terra Prometida, São Francisco. Ela se estabeleceu rapidamente no cenário musical da cidade, tocando em cafés e bares. Só que havia algo mais à sua espera: muitas drogas. Em 1965, 2 anos após chegar a São Francisco, Janis voltou a Port Arthur viciada em anfetamina.
She came back probably weighing, 87 pounds or 90 pounds or something like that, and needle tracks up and down her arms, and was a total basket case. She probably realized when, that she had damn near killed herself. And she was really trying to do everything in her power to do a complete 180 and go as straight could be. But as everyone knows now, her luck didn't hold out.
O primeiro envolvimento com drogas injetáveis era apenas uma amostra do que estava por vir. Agora, 5 anos depois, num hotel em Hollywood, na Califórnia, a sorte de Janis Joplin está quase no fim. – 3 de outubro de 1970, 5:30 da tarde. Janis Joplin sai do hotel Landmark, em Hollywood, para ir ao estúdio de gravação Sunset Sound, e começar o trabalho com sua nova banda, a Full Teeth Boogie. Só que ela não sabe que vai ser a última gravação de sua vida. Em menos de 8 horas, Janis Joplin vai estar morta. Quando Janis chega, a banda já está gravando uma das últimas faixas, profeticamente intitulada Buried Alive in the Blues, isto é, Enterrada Viva no Blues. O guitarrista John Till lembra bem.
She was really liking the song. I mean, she wouldn't have pursued the song if she hadn't liked it. So it was coming together more and more and more, and we almost had it by the end of the night. She really felt good about what was going on, and she told us many times, she says, I just love that. And I said, thanks, Janis, because we did too.
Até agora a gravação está indo bem. Janis, que já tinha vivido situações difíceis no estúdio, espera que o produtor Paul Rothchild use um pouco de magia no novo disco.
Paul was an incredible producer because he could bring it all together.
And he felt that Janis had not been captured. And by golly, he was going to do it.
Paul Rothchild diz a Janis que o novo disco vai fazer um sucesso inédito. Janis acha que conseguiu reimpulsionar a carreira. Apesar de ter sido espetacular, sua ascensão à fama não foi fácil. Em 1966, de volta a São Francisco, Janis abraça a cultura hippie de Haight-Ashbury. Lá ela conhece a banda que vai levá-la ao sucesso, Big Brother and the Holding Company.
Peter and I were singing, and neither one of us is really a lead vocalist. And Chet says, you know, our manager, he said, I went to University of Texas with this woman who sings bluegrass and country. She's an amazing woman, and you got to hear her.
And I had this dream that she was this beautiful, gorgeous woman and this great singer, and I fell in love with her in the dream.
And in comes Chet with this real scraggly-looking girl. And she was kind of tough. She was kind of scrappy. It would be like if you went out and got a cat out in the alley and, you know, dragged the cat in. She's kind of like, she has her claws out, you know.
And then when she showed up, she didn't look like anything like my dream, but she was beautiful, you know. She wasn't beautiful in some other way.
Janis era bem diferente das cantoras meigas que lideravam as paradas da época, mas ela tinha outra qualidade.
When she opened her mouth, I think it was apparent to me anyway, or I think to most of the people, that she was the one, that she was the singer for this band.
Janis e a Big Brother eram uma combinação perfeita. O som improvisado da banda harmonizava com a voz intensa e melancólica de Janis. Em pouco tempo, a banda Big Brother and the Holding Company conquistou as plateias de São Francisco.
My parents had no clue what Janis was doing. You know, the entertainment aspect of it was something my mother was clear about and knew that that could be good. The whole San Francisco scene was a new concept that nobody had really considered before. The hippie thing, the whole bit. Janis coming from the beatnik thing, they were pretty concerned. After she'd come back from San Francisco, pretty strung out and gotten clean and moved back to San Francisco, one of the first letters she wrote back from New San Francisco, with a great deal of trepidation, I bring the news. I'm in San Francisco.
When she first came back to San Francisco and joined Big Brother, she had a real aversion to drugs.
The first time she was back and she saw someone shooting up, you know, it frightened her so badly that she became hysterical, you know, and she started crying and ran out of the room, and it was very intense for her, you know, because she just didn't want to go back there again.
It's like when someone has an addiction, let's say, to something, they don't even want to see it in the room.
And then so time went on, and probably about the time we moved into Lagunitas, California, she started injecting drugs again.
For a while, I think she had it under control. Same thing with the drinking. She had it under control, like anybody who has that addiction, I would say, has it seemingly under control for periods of time. And they think sometimes they're doing their best work, and and they can't deal without it, or that the drug is actually what's helping them to even do their best work. So I think she felt that way about it to a certain extent.
Para Janis, voltar a São Francisco significava retomar hábitos perigosos, mas também ficar mais famosa com a nova banda. A banda se tornou a nova família de Janis. Eles moravam, tocavam e se divertiam juntos. Mas após a bela apresentação em Monterrey, a nova família de Janis começou a se desestruturar. O baterista David Getz jamais vai esquecer.
From Monterey on was really the beginning where it really separated Janis from the band. It made her a star. It made her a diva, an icon.
It started out Big Brother and the Holding Company on the poster, and then it said Big Brother and the Holding Company featuring Janis Joplin, real small letters down at the bottom, And then the Janis Joplin got larger. Then it became Janis Joplin, Big Brother and the Holding Company in the small letters down at the bottom.
And if you asked me to read her mind and say when she came down the street or we drove down the street and approached a gig and she saw Janis Joplin in big letters on the marquee, I'm sure that her heart beat faster. How can it not?
A imprensa adorava Janis, mas não os rapazes da banda, que eram considerados músicos medíocres e indignos da companhia da rainha do rock. As coisas pioraram quando a banda começou a gravar o primeiro disco.
We'd never been in the studio before. We didn't really know how to record in a really, in a kind of sterile, controlled situation like that.
Yeah, we try a certain number of takes, and if we don't get it by then, let's say we don't get it by 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, we can spend a few hours doing something else, How's that?
I think we ought to just run over some of these things instrumentally and then listen to them and see what could be
What are you going to hear when you hear that, Sam? You're going to hear the vocal. I mean, you aren't saying, was the rhythm guitar right? I mean, you aren't even aware of it, because what you hear is what's up front. Yeah. And when we play Piece of My Heart, what's going to be up front is going to be the vocal.
Suddenly you're making a recording, and it's about every little sound, whether it fits. Is this the right note? Is this the right beat? Does it fit together? Is this off from that? So all of a sudden there was, seeing ourselves as inadequate.
That's when Janis may have started having, even more second thoughts about the band.
No final de 1968, influenciada pela opinião da imprensa e ávida por mais fama e atenção, Janis anunciou que deixaria a banda.
She loved these guys, but the alternative that's being offered is, do you want to go out on that stage as the act? How can she possibly say no?
Após o anúncio da separação, Janis e a Big Brother ainda tinham alguns shows para fazer.
There was definitely a lot of tension between the people in the band and Janis, because everybody knew the announcement had been made that she was leaving the band. The audience knew it, and in some way the band, we felt really less than. We felt really vulnerable.
Sitting down by my window, just looking out.
Peter got into a fight with her on stage. After one of the songs, Janis was panting into the microphone. She was going...
So Peter Albin, our bass player, says, "Welcome to the Lassie show, folks."
She took it to mean you're a dog, calling her a dog. And she said something like, just you, man, again, she snarled at him. And then the same thing, after the set, backstage, they just were screaming at each other.
They may have even hit each other, I don't know, but it was just really, it was a terrible scene,
Era o fim da parceria entre Janis e a Big Brother. Ela deu as costas para a nova família, que a amou e a aceitou do jeito que era. A decisão a atormentou e fez com que ela seguisse um caminho autodestrutivo que, em menos de 3 horas, não vai ter mais volta. 3 de outubro de 1970. Estúdio Sunset Sound, em Hollywood, na Califórnia. Janis Joplin está gravando uma faixa do último disco, Pearl, com a banda nova. Ela diz ao produtor Paul Rothchild que está ansiosa para gravar os vocais no dia seguinte, mas não vai ter essa chance. Em menos de 3 horas, Janis vai morrer. Animada com o clima alegre do estúdio, Janis resolve ligar para o noivo, Seth Morgan. Ela liga para a própria casa em São Francisco, onde ele está hospedado, mas o noivo não está lá. Quem atende é a colega de quarto, que diz que Seth saiu. Sentindo-se abandonada, Janis recorre a um parceiro fiel, o álcool.
There might have been a Mickey there of Southern Comfort. I don't know. I didn't spend too much time in the studio control room myself, but I might have heard some glasses tinkling.
Janis passou a maior parte da vida recorrendo a drogas em tempos de crise, mas foi só em 1969, pouco depois de deixar a banda Big Brother and the Holding Company, que os maus hábitos viraram vícios perigosos. Depois da Big Brother, Janis formou a banda Cosmic Blues, com músicos profissionais escolhidos a dedo. Mas desde o início, as coisas não saíram como planejado.
Janis kind of not sold out, but she wanted to make this a business venture. At some point, it became more than just. It became everything for her.
She left this family of Big Brother and the Holding Company and went into this new organization, but she didn't know how to lead the organization. She forgot about that part. She didn't know how to put a band together.
She liked the idea of having a horn section. The new band had a horn section. She really wanted to try to emulate that whole thing, so it was a real departure. And for the people who had accepted her as part of as the great vocalist with an acid rock band from San Francisco, this was a big change. And it took a long time to win people over.
Going from Big Brother and the Holding Company into Cosmic Blues was another cold bath because Big Brother was a family and we just thought we were going to stick together always. And so she left and I became an employee of hers.
They're all looking to Janis as the band leader, and she didn't even know she was supposed to be that, let alone how to do it.
She changed personnel constantly, so everyone's real insecure about their job. You know, I think we had 5 drummers or so. And, you know, changed horn players many times, had 2 or 3 keyboard players. So she's changing everything compulsively in the band so no one could relax. You know, we couldn't gel into it.
Janis wrote a song called I Got Them Old Cosmic Blues Again, Mama, and we named the band the Cosmic Blues Band from that song title. From the beginning, there was a problem because the press and the audience had accepted Janis with Big Brother, especially strongly in San Francisco and the West Coast. There was a feeling that she had abandoned Big Brother and had used them as a stepping stone, and there was a lot of hostility, and it was very difficult to overcome.
Além disso, a levada soul da banda nova não cativou nem o público, nem os críticos.
The minute she left Big Brother, they said she should go back to Big Brother if they'll have her, you know. And she just cried and cried about that, almost like all night.
Acostumada a ser a queridinha da mídia, Janis fica desolada com as críticas.
She was devastated. You see, you'd gotten all this adulation. She was ambitious. Janis wanted to be a big star.
Things that were said in the press, you know, just devastate her, where they wouldn't bother, you know, say Jimi Hendrix or somebody. You know, she didn't have the reserves to do that.
So when all of this comes out, she went back to her hotel room and did up, I'm sorry to say.
Além de se entorpecer com heroína e bebida, Janis fazia ainda mais jus à reputação de aloprada do rock, dentro e fora do palco.
What was on stage was part of Janis. Lots of people thought that was all there was. And then you see her as the little girl who is easily hurt, and sometimes cries easily and feels at the same time, a great sense of injustice if she was treated wrongly, badly by somebody, and could make me just feel terrible, because if I screamed at the gutsy Janis and then all of a sudden she turned into the little girl who was hurt, I just felt awful. There was this complex personality, and it was Janis, and the only part we really wanted to get rid of was the addict.
She was addicted to speed first, and then, then alcohol, and ultimately heroin and alcohol.
I began to notice she was drinking more beforehand, and it was affecting her performances, and she was using heroin more. She always used to save these things for after the performance, because then it's like a reward.
Does it go from that to becoming something else, to where you just need it to feel okay? And if you don't have it, you feel just so bad, like you want to kill yourself.
That's it. Janis, you have to take it easy, take it a little bit easy. And she's sitting on a bed, we're in a motel room, and she's going, I'm not going to die. My ancestors were pioneers. They came across the whole United States in a covered wagon. They were tough people, and I have their genes, and, nothing's going to happen to me, she says. And I said, don't say that.
Janis começou a se drogar descontroladamente. Em março de 1969, a amiga Linda Gravenites encontrou Janis desmaiada e com o rosto roxo. Era overdose, não seria a última vez.
You cannot make someone with an addictive personality do anything. You can't do it for them. You can tell them how you feel, and I did tell her how I felt. I said, I don't like to see you like this.
Em Woodstock, em agosto de 1969, Janis Joplin não conseguia mais esconder os efeitos da turnê contínua e do excesso de drogas e bebida.
She was feeling down. She physically was not in good condition, and she was very uncertain about her future.
No final de 1969, Janis desmanchou a banda Cosmic Blues. Tinha sido um desastre. Ela havia abandonado a família Big Brother and the Holding Company para tentar ficar mais famosa, mas só tinha conseguido se viciar em álcool e heroína, um vício que vai levar às últimas consequências em Hollywood, na Califórnia. Após a gravação, Janis e alguns colegas da banda vão beber no bar local, Barney's Beanery. É a última vez que Janis Joplin vai pegar num copo. Em menos de 1 hora, a rainha do rock vai pagar o preço pela sua vida de excessos. – 4 de outubro de 1970, 00:30, Barney's Beanery, Hollywood, Califórnia. Janis Joplin desfruta o último drink de sua vida conturbada. Em menos de 1 hora, ela vai morrer. Janis e os colegas da Full Tilt Boogie Band relaxam no bar após passarem o dia trabalhando no novo disco, Pearl.
Ken told me that she was really happy with the way things were coming along. He says, don't you guys ever leave me. I said, don't worry, we won't.
Com a última banda, Janis conseguiu ótimos músicos, uma nova família e, acima de tudo, uma forma de voltar para a mídia. Em 1970, após o fim da Cosmic Blues, Janis resolveu parar de se drogar e montou outra banda, que foi chamada de Full Tilt Boogie Band.
What I saw in Janis the minute we went out on the road with Full Tilt Boogie was a changed woman, and in the way that I really didn't expect was that she had figured out how to be the band leader. And from before we even hit the road, they all came together as personalities. They were a band.
It wasn't Janis and the Full Tilt Boogie Band. She was a member of the Full Tilt Boogie Band, and she liked it that way.
Janis's performances that summer they made you think of Monterey. They made me think of the best evenings with Big Brother because they were Janis at her best, but they're pretty much that way every night because she felt so positive about the band. The most fun we had in the summer of 1970 was going up to Canada and being part of Festival Express.
O Festival Express era uma turnê de trem pelo Canadá, que envolvia a nata do rock americano e canadense.
Are we in Calgary already? Everybody said,
It was like Woodstock on wheels. We had a great deal of fun pretty much from the start. But the train was special because we were with all these other musicians, and of course she knew the Dead. It just went from one thing to another.
Em meados de 1970, Janis Joplin estava com tudo. Ela tinha voltado a ser admirada. Em junho, confiante de que havia se livrado dos problemas, ela fez uma declaração surpreendente ao seu apresentador de TV preferido, Dick Cavett.
You ever get back to Port Arthur, Texas?
No, but I'm going back in August, man. I guess what I'm doing.
I don't know. Night
I'm going
clubbing
to my
there?
10th annual high school reunion.
Do you think you'll have a lot to say to your old high school classmates?
I'm going to laugh a lot, man.
Were you not surrounded by friends in high school?
They laughed me out of class, out of town, and out of the state. So I'm going home.
Oh, I thought it was hilarious. I loved it. I mean, that was Janis. You know, that was, the timing, everything was just perfect.
She wanted to go home with all her finery and her reputation and her well-earned fame and strut for Port Arthur.
Well, she wanted to rub their faces in it, I think. She was like, I'm going to go back and show those guys and really make them upset.
Janis queria muito a aceitação da cidade natal, mas outra vez não foi bem recebida. Até a família tratou com frieza. O irmão, Michael, se lembra.
My parents treated her pretty cold, and they were pretty upset with the way she'd been talking about them and the town. So that was a real tense situation around the house. And some of the cold reception she'd received from her friends, it really put a change of perspective in her.
And it didn't really work out for her, you know, because I guess they still didn't accept her.
News crews were around and all that kind of stuff. There's a great interview that she was doing at the reunion. They were asking her all these questions, and you can really see her start to retreat from that I want to rub it in your face stuff. And she became really vulnerable, like maybe this wasn't a great idea to come be a jerk.
Ciente do erro, Janis volta para a costa oeste. No início de setembro, ela começou a gravar o novo disco, Pearl. Como sempre fazia quando ia a Los Angeles, ela se hospedou no hotel Landmark. Em menos de 30 minutos, será o fim de sua última estada. Ao chegar do Barney's Beanery, Janis dá boa noite à banda e vai para o quarto sozinha. Ela pega a heroína que havia comprado e prepara a droga. Após se injetar pela última vez, Janis sai do quarto e vai à recepção trocar dinheiro para comprar cigarro na máquina. Ela bate papo com o gerente, que não faz ideia de que vai ser a última pessoa a ver Janis Joplin viva. Janis compra um maço de cigarros, volta para o quarto 105 e começa a se despir. De repente, ela cai quando a heroína quase pura atinge seu cérebro. 4 de outubro de 1970, 1h30 da manhã. Janis Joplin acabou de se injetar heroína, que fez seu coração parar. Ninguém vai encontrá-la nas próximas 18 horas, caída entre a cama e a mesa de cabeceira. Quando ela não aparece no estúdio no dia seguinte, o produtor musical Paul Rothchild liga para o produtor da turnê, John Cook.
Paul called me at the motel and said Janis was supposed to be here an hour ago, and she's not here, and she's always on time. So I went to the desk and I got the key. Went to the room and there was Janis, except that Janis wasn't there. I put a finger on flesh and the spirit was long gone and there was no question. Janis was dead on the floor of her motel room.
Estima-se que ela tenha morrido a 1h30 da manhã do dia 4 de outubro de 1970. A autópsia confirmou que Janis morreu de uma overdose. A heroína costuma ser vendida misturada, com menos de 3% de pureza. A análise mostrou que o teor de pureza da heroína encontrada no organismo de Janis era de 40% a 50%.
There was a story on the 10 o'clock news. Still gets me. Still gets me.
No mesmo fim de semana, em Los Angeles, mais 8 pessoas morreram de overdose de heroína quase pura. O disco Pearl foi lançado 4 meses depois, tornando-se o álbum mais vendido e aclamado de Janis Joplin.
It's just too dangerous to play around with that stuff. And most people I know that did aren't with us anymore, because it can kill you in a snap.
It was inevitable and really surprising, both at the same time.
When she died of a heroin overdose, it was really hard because I didn't have a role model anymore.
Nobody was surprised. I wasn't surprised at her death. But one of the most truly surprising things about Janis's life and death is that she's still with us. Is that 37 years later, no matter where you are in America, you can flip on your car radio, and at some point or another, you're going to hear Janis Joplin singing.
Janis was like a race car driver, you know. They win races, they get great adulation from the fans, but there's always the chance that they'll wipe out.
I had a dream where Janis was on stage. And it was the end of the set, the end of the encore. And that was maybe a month or so after she died, and I felt like it was Janis coming to say goodbye. And Janis came down the ramp, and there was this little girl needing approval and comfort. And she said, "Was it okay? Was I okay?" And I said, "You were great."
Isso aí, você viu que Janis Joplin sempre tem alguém para influenciar. Agora, vocês estão precisando dizer não às drogas, né? Música é cultura, drogas não. Até o próximo programa. Assim, se Deus quiser, essa 4ª temporada do Demônios.
Memórias. Apresentação: Sandro Silva.
Rede Gama.